Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praise be Jesus Christ. Happy Easter and welcome to this live stream broadcast of Pope Francis' general audience for Wednesday, May 4th, 2022. My name is Christopher Wells. I'll be providing the English language commentary for today's audience. Whether you're joining us through the various Vatican media channels, the Vatican audio or radio app, the Vatican News web portal, or our Vatican News YouTube channel, or via one of our partner stations, including Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea, Radio Maria England, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom World TV, Salt and Light TV, Madarashan TV, EWTN TV, Catholic TV, or Luminous Radio in India. A very warm welcome, one and all. For those of you with video feed, you can see our Holy Father is being transported in the Pope Mobile around St. Peter's Square so that he can greet the faithful. Many of you have probably heard our Holy Father has been having some health trouble with his knee, which has forced him to remain seated for various events, so he's not able to reach out to the faithful as he would normally do on such occasions. And of course, we are keeping Pope Francis in our prayers as he deals with those health issues. In today's general audience, the Holy Father is continuing our reflection on old age. Today, considering the biblical figure of Eleazar from the second book of Maccabees, the Pope will be talking about the coherence of the faith and the legacy of honor. The audience will begin here in a few moments when the Holy Father reaches the platform in front of St. Peter's Basilica. And the Pope opens the audience with the sign of the cross and the liturgical greeting, Pax Tecum, peace be with you, followed by the proclamation of the reading chosen for today's audience. The Holy Father will be reflecting on a passage from the second book of Maccabees, chapter 6, verses 18 and then 23 through 25. At the beginning of the audience, we will hear that reading in the various major languages in use here at the Vatican, beginning with Italian, of course, followed by French, English, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, and Polish. When the reading has been proclaimed in the various major languages, our Holy Father will then give his reflection. And even now is a little bit of a tradition for major papal events. The security team will, from time to time, lift up a child for the Holy Father to bless. We also see the Holy Father participating in the old tradition of exchanging 𝒂𝒃𝒄𝒄𝒄𝒄, the little white top hat that the Pope wears. At one point, the Pope would actually exchange his own 𝒂𝒃𝒄𝒄 for the one that is offered to him. Pope Francis has tweaked that tradition a little bit, where he will receive a 𝒂𝒃𝒄𝒄 from a member of the faithful, place it on his head for just a few moments, a few seconds, and then return that to the person who has given it to him, and then put his own 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒏 back on. So one of the fun and interesting traditions of the papacy over the years. As we mentioned, the Pope will be giving a catechesis on today, old age. He's continuing a series of catecheses on old age. And that reflection is given in Italian. We'll be providing a translation of the Pope's remarks. And a little bit later this morning, after the audience has concluded, the full text of the Pope's remarks in various languages will be available on the Holy See website. Vatican News also provides a summary of the Pope's remarks on the Vatican News homepage on the internet. You can find that site at www.vaticannews.va. Following the catechesis, the main points of the Holy Father's address are translated again into the 7 or 8 various languages that are in use at the Vatican. And during that portion of the audience, a speaker will stand up and greet the Holy Father in the name of all of the faithful who use that language. The speaker then gives the brief summary of the Pope's remarks. We don't translate that because the summary is essentially the same in each of the different languages. And so we allow everyone to hear those summaries in the different languages. Afterwards, the Holy Father returns the greeting to the faithful of the various languages, often says a few words of encouragement, will sometimes greet some particular groups that are here to say hello to him. And we will offer a translation of those greetings. And then at the end of the audience, the Holy Father will greet once again the Italian speakers. There's no summary since the original address is in Italian. And at that point, the Holy Father will often speak to one or another particular issue that has occupied his attention in recent days. The audience will then conclude with the common chant in Latin of the Our Father. The Holy Father and the faithful recite the Lord's Prayer together. And finally, the audience concludes with the Pope's Apostolic blessing. The blessing is extended to all those, not only those present in the square, in St. Peter's Square, but also all of those, everyone listening in live to the broadcast. So we invite you to prepare to receive the Holy Father's blessing at the conclusion of the audience. That blessing is extended to not only to those who are present for it, those who hear it live, but also and especially to the family and friends of those present, all of our loved ones. And another festive custom at the papal audiences, you often hear bands or choirs performing either before or during the audience. as we can hear now, as the Holy Father has reached the platform in front of the facade of St. Peter's and is being led to his chair. In just a moment, we will have the introduction to today's general audience. Again, the Holy Father is being led slowly to his chair. Once again, we invite prayers for our Holy Father. Again, for those of you watching live, you can see that he is having some difficulty walking and moving about. And certainly the Holy Father is grateful for your prayers.
Il Santo Padre dà ora inizio all'udienza generale, introducendola con il segno della croce e il saluto liturgico. Disponiamoci ad accogliere la sua parola e a ricevere la sua benedizione.
Nel nome del Padre, del Figlio e dello Spirito Santo. La pace sia con voi.
And now we'll hear the readings in the various languages.
Dal libro dei Maccabei. Un tale Eleazzaro, uno degli scribi più stimati, uomo già avanti negli anni e molto dignitoso nell'aspetto della persona, rispose subito dicendo che lo mandassero pure alla morte, poiché, egli diceva, non è affatto degno della nostra età fingere, con il pericolo che molti giovani, pensando che a 90 anni Eleazzaro sia passato alle usanze straniere, a loro volta, per colpa della mia finzione, per appena un po' più di vita, si perdano per causa mia, e io procuri così disonore e macchia alla mia vecchiaia. Parola di Dio.
Du deuxième livre des martyrs d'Israël. Éléazar était l'un des scribes les plus éminents. C'était un homme très âgé et de très belle allure. Il s'exprima en conséquence, demandant qu'on l'envoyât sans tarder au séjour des morts. Une telle comédie est indigne de mon âge, car beaucoup de jeunes gens croiraient qu'Éléazar, à 90 ans, adopte la manière de vivre des étrangers. À cause de cette comédie, par ma faute, ils se laisseraient égarer eux aussi. Et moi, pour un misérable reste de vie, j'attirerai sur ma vieillesse la honte et le déshonneur. Parole du Seigneur.
A reading from the second book of Maccabees. Eleazar, one of the scribes in high position, a man now advanced in age and of noble presence, declared himself quickly, telling them to send him to Hades. Such pretense is not worthy of our time of life, he said, lest many of the young should suppose that Eleazar, in his 90th year, has gone over to an alien religion, and through my pretense, for the sake of living a brief moment longer, they should be led astray because of me, while I defile and disgrace my old age. The word of the Lord.
Lesung aus dem zweiten Buch der Makkabäer. Unter den angesehensten Schriftgelehrten war 𝐿eāẓar, ein Mann von schon hohem Alter und sehr edlen Gesichtszügen. Er erklärte ohne Umschweife, man solle ihn ruhig zur Unterwelt schicken. Wer so alt ist wie ich, soll sich nicht verstellen. Viele junge Leute könnten sonst glauben, 𝐿eāẓar sei mit seinen 90 Jahren noch zu der neuen Lebensart übergegangen. Wenn ich jetzt heuchelte, um eine geringe, kurze Zeit länger zu leben, leitete ich sie irre, brächte meinem Alter aber Schimpf und Schande. Wort des lebendigen Gottes.
Lectura del segundo libro de los Macabeos. En aquellos días, 𝐿eāẓar, uno de los principales doctores de la ley, hombre de edad ya avanzada y de muy noble aspecto, dijo que lo enviaran enseguida a la mansión de los muertos. Porque, decía él, no es digno de nuestra edad fingir, ya que muchos jóvenes considerarán que el nonagenario 𝐿eāẓar se ha cambiado a costumbres extrañas, y por mi culpa caerán en el error, porque habría fingido para obtener un poco más de vida, ganándome así una vejez manchada y vergonzosa. Palabra de Dios.
Leitura do segundo livro dos Macabeus. Tal 𝐿eāẓar, varão de idade avançada e de bela aparência, dos principais doutores da lei, preferiu ser conduzido à morte. Não é próprio da minha idade, respondeu ele, usar de tal fingimento. Não suceda que muitos jovens, julgando que 𝐿eāẓar, aos 90 anos, se tenha passado à vida dos gentios, pelo meu gesto de hipocrisia e por amor a um pouco de vida, se deixem arrastar pelo meu exemplo. Isto seria a desonra e a vergonha da minha velhice. Palavra do Senhor.
قراءة من سفر المكابيين الثاني. كان رجل يقال له 𝐿eāẓar من متقدمي الكتبة، طاعن في السن، رائع الطلعة، قد طلب أن يرسل عاجلا إلى مثوى الأموات، وقال: لا يليق بسننا أن نرائي، لئلا يظن كثير من الشبان أن 𝐿eāẓar وهو ابن 90 سنة قد انحاز إلى مذهب الغرباء، ويضلهم أيضا بسببي وبسبب ريائي من أجل حياة أصبحت قصيرة جدا، فأجلب على شيخوخة النجاسة والفضيحة. كلام الرب.
Czytanie z drugiej księgi machabejskiej. Niejaki 𝐿eāẓar, jeden z pierwszych uczonych w piśmie, mąż już w podeszłym wieku i szlachetnego oblicza, dał im jasną odpowiedź, mówiąc, aby go zaraz posłali na śmierć. Udawanie bowiem, mówił, nie przystoi naszemu wiekowi. Wielu młodych byłoby bowiem przekonanych, że 𝐿eāẓar, który ma już 90 lat, przyjął pogańskie obyczaje. Oni to przez moje udawaje i to dla ocalenia maleńkiej resztki życia, przeze mnie byliby wprowadzeni w błąd, ja zaś hańbą i wstydem okryłbym swoją starość. Oto Słowo Boże.
And with the readings concluded, we will now hear the catechesis of our Holy Father, Pope Francis.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buongiorno.
Dear brothers and sisters, good morning.
Nel cammino di queste catechesi sulla vecchiaia,
On the path of catechesis on old age, today we meet a biblical character named Eleazar, who lived at the time of the persecution of Antiochus Epiphanes. Eleazar is a beautiful character, a figure who gives us a testimony of the special relationship that exists between the fidelity of old age and the honor of faith. I'd like to speak precisely about the honor of faith, not only about the consistency of faith, its proclamation and resistance. The honor of faith periodically comes under pressure, even violent, from the culture of the rulers who seek to debase it by treating it as an archaeological find or an old superstition, an anachronistic fetish. It's a beautiful story, and we've just read a passage of it, but it would be good to read the whole thing. The biblical story tells us of the episode of the Jewish people being forced by a king's decree to eat meat that had been sacrificed to idols. When it was the turn of Eleazar, who was an elderly man, highly esteemed by all, the king's officials advised him to resort to a pretense. That is, to pretend to eat the meat without actually doing so. Hypocrisy, a religious hypocrisy. There's a great deal of religious hypocrisy nowadays. In this way, Eleazar could be saved. And they hoped that in the name of friendship, he would accept their gesture of compassion and affection. After all, they insisted it was a tiny, insignificant gesture to eat or not to eat. This is hypocrisy, though. But Eleazar's calm and firm response is based on an argument that is still striking. The central point is this: dishonoring the faith in old age in order to gain just a handful of days cannot be compared in any way with the legacy that it must leave for the young, for generations, for entire generations to come. Well done, this Eleazar. He's an old man who has lived the faith coherently for a whole lifetime. An old man who has lived coherently in his faith for a whole lifetime, but who now adapts himself to a feigning repudiation of it, condemns the new generation to thinking that the whole faith has been a sham, an outer covering that can be abandoned, imagining that you can nonetheless preserve it interiorly. Not so, says Eleazar. Such behavior does not honor the faith, not even before God, and the effect of this external trivialization will be devastating for the inner life of young people. It is precisely old age that appears here as the decisive, irreplaceable place for this testimony. An elderly person who, because of his vulnerability, accepts that the practice of the faith is irrelevant, would make young people believe that faith has no real relationship with life. It would appear to them from the outset as a set of behaviors which, if necessary, can be faked or concealed because they are not particularly important for life. The ancient Gnostic heterodoxy, which is a very powerful and very seductive trap for early Christianity, theorized precisely this: that faith is a spirituality, not a practice, a strength of the mind, not a form of life. According to this heresy, faithfulness and the honor of faith has nothing to do with the way one behaves in life, with the institutions of the community, the symbols of the body. It has nothing to do with that. The seduction of this perspective is very strong, because it reinterprets in its own way an indisputable truth. It's true that faith can never be reduced to a set of dietary rules or social practices. The trouble is that the Gnostic radicalization of this truth nullifies the realism of Christian faith, because the Christian faith is absolutely realistic. It's not just saying the creed. It's not just thinking the creed and understanding the creed. It's doing the creed. It's doing what we believe, doing work with our hands. Instead, this Gnostic proposal imagines some purely spiritual faith, and this is not Christianity. And the first... And we see this heresy in many spiritual centers. This heresy also empties the witness, which shows the concrete signs of God in the life of the community, and resists the perversions of the mind through the gestures of the body. This Gnostic heresy, which is a deviation from the faith, this Gnostic temptation, is ever present in our day. There are many trends in our society and culture where the practice of faith suffers from a negative portrayal, sometimes in the form of cultural irony, sometimes with covert marginalization. The practice of faith The practice of the faith is regarded as useless and even as a harmful external practice, as an antiquated residue or a disguised superstition. In short, something for the elderly. The pressure that this indiscriminate criticism exerts on younger generations is strong. Certainly, we know that the practices of the faith can become a soulless external practice. But in itself, it is not soulless. That's not the way it is. Perhaps it's up to us older people. It's a very important mission to give faith back its honor, to act coherently with our faith. Coherency in the faith to the end. The practice of faith is not the symbol of our weakness, no, but instead the sign of its strength. We are no longer young people. We're not kidding when we set out on the Lord's path. No. The faith deserves respect and honor to the very end. It has changed our lives. It has purified our minds. It has taught us the worship of God and the love of our neighbor. It is a blessing for all, but the faith for all, not for just a few. We will not barter our faith for a few extra quiet days. No. Not at all. Coherent even to the end. We will show in all humility and firmness, precisely in our old age, that believing is not something for old men, no. It's something of life. And the Holy Spirit, who makes all things new, will gladly help us. Dear brothers and sisters, elderly, I won't say old, please look to the young. They are looking at us. Don't forget that.
I bambini ci guardano. Noi possiamo dire lo stesso con I giovani. I giovani ci guardano.
The young people look to us, and our coherence to open up a path for them is very beautiful. And hypocrisy is very, very harmful. And he concludes with, thank you. Now, having heard the Holy Father's reflection, we'll hear the greetings and summary in the various languages. Beginning here with French.
Vous exprimer leurs sentiments respectueux et leur filial attachement. Ils vous assurent de leur prière à toutes les intentions de votre ministère apostolique universel. À la fin de l'audience, nous chanterons le Notre Père en latin, puis le Saint-Père donnera la bénédiction apostolique. Il l'accorde spécialement aux enfants, aux personnes âgées et aux personnes qui souffrent. Il bénira également les chapelets et les autres objets de dévotion que vous avez apportés à cette intention. Voici un résumé en français de la catéchèse que vient de prononcer le Saint-Père. Chers frères et sœurs, poursuivant notre catéchèse sur la vieillesse, nous évoquons aujourd'hui la figure d'Éléazar. Il témoigne de l'importance pour la vieillesse d'honorer la foi avec fidélité. La réponse d'Éléazar permet de comprendre que faiblir dans la foi au temps de la vieillesse compromet l'héritage qu'elle doit laisser aux jeunes et aux générations à venir. Une personne âgée qui considère la pratique de la foi comme insignifiante fait croire aux jeunes qu'elle n'a aucun rapport avec la vie. C'est une théorie que soutenait l'ancienne gnose hétérodoxe, selon laquelle la foi serait une spiritualité et non une pratique, une activité de l'esprit et non une forme de vie. Une telle théorie rend inutile le réalisme de la foi chrétienne et la vide de son témoignage. Aujourd'hui, dans notre société, la pratique de la foi est vue de manière négative. Elle est considérée comme inutile et même nuisible, bien plus comme un vestige du passé et une superstition déguisée. La pression que cette critique exerce sur la jeune génération est forte et il revient aux personnes âgées de rendre à la foi son honneur. La foi mérite respect et honneur, elle a changé notre vie, elle a purifié notre esprit, elle nous a enseigné l'adoration de Dieu et l'amour du prochain. Elle est une bénédiction pour tous. Maintenant, le Saint-Père va saluer en italien les fidèles de langue française.
Saluto cordialmente I pellegrini di lingua francese, in particolare l'associazione Via Romana, la comunità dell'Arca, e I giovani venuti dalla Francia, tanti giovani. Fratelli e sorelle, con la nostra preghiera e la nostra vicinanza possiamo essere un conforto e un sostegno per gli anziani, specialmente nei momenti in cui il peso dell'età e le sofferenze li espongono all'abbandono della fede. Dio vi benedica.
Vous saluant en italien, le Saint-Père vient de dire
I cordially greet the French-speaking pilgrims, especially the Via Romana Association. the L'Arche community, and the young people who have come from France. There are very many young people from France. Brothers and sisters, with our prayers and our closeness, we can be a comfort and a support to the elderly, especially at times when the weight of age and suffering expose them to abandonment of faith. May God bless you. Now we'll have the English greetings.
Most Holy Father, the English-speaking pilgrims and visitors wish to express to you their sentiments of deep respect and esteem, and to assure you of their prayers for your ministry as the successor of Peter. At the end of the audience, we will sing together the Our Father in Latin. His Holiness will then impart his apostolic blessing, which he extends in a particular way to the members of your families at home. He also intends to bless any religious articles you may have brought for this purpose, and in a special way, his blessing goes to your children, the elderly, and those who are sick.
Greetings. We'll now move on to German.
Heiliger Vater, die Gläubigen deutscher Sprache möchten Ihnen ihre herzliche Zuneigung und aufrichtige Verbundenheit bekunden und versichern Sie zugleich Ihres Gebets in allen Ihren Anliegen Ihres universalen apostolischen Dienstes. Zum Schluss dieser Audienz singen wir gemeinsam das Vaterunser in lateinischer Sprache. Danach wird der Heilige Vater allen den apostolischen Segen erteilen. Gern schließt er darin ihre Angehörigen ein, besonders die Kranken, die Kinder und die älteren Menschen. Zugleich segnet er auch die Rosenkränze und die übrigen Andachtsgegenstände, die sie dafür mitgebracht haben. Es folgt nun eine Zusammenfassung der Katechese des Heiligen Vaters in deutscher Sprache. Liebe Brüder und Schwestern, die Lesung heute erzählt von Eleazar, der sich dem Befehl des Königs widersetzte und sich aus Respekt vor den Regeln seines Glaubens weigerte, Götzenopferfleisch zu essen. Weil er überall beliebt war, rieten ihm sogar die Beamten des Königs, er solle einfach so tun, als äße er von dem Fleisch. So könne er sein Leben retten. Eleazar lässt sich auf solche Heuchelei aber nicht ein. Dies wäre Verrat an Gott und zudem gäbe er der jungen Generation ein schlechtes Beispiel. Die Jungen sollen nicht auf den verkehrten Gedanken kommen, es käme allein auf die innere Einstellung an und die äußere Glaubenspraxis sei dem gegenüber sekundär und müsse nicht unbedingt beachtet werden. Klar, der Glaube darf nicht auf die Einhaltung irgendwelcher Speisevorschriften und andere äußere Bestimmungen reduziert werden. Zugleich aber ist christlicher Glaube nie etwas rein Geistiges. Er wird immer den Weg des Herrn gehen, den Weg der Inkarnation. Auch heute erleben wir, dass viele die konkrete Glaubenspraxis für entbehrlich halten oder sie gar als schädliche Äußerlichkeit ansehen, als ein Relikt der Vergangenheit, als abergläubisches Ritual, als etwas für alte Leute. Unser Glaube will sowohl in seiner geistigen wie auch in seiner praktischen Dimension beachtet werden. Auf diese Weise kann er unser Leben verändern, unseren Geist läutern und uns die Anbetung Gottes wie auch die Liebe zum Nächsten lehren. Ein solcher konkreter Glaube ist ein Segen für alle, nicht nur für die Alten. Der Heilige Vater richtet nun einen Gruß auf Italienisch an die deutschsprachigen Gläubigen.
Cari fratelli e sorelle di lingua tedesca, il mese di maggio è dedicato alla Madre di Dio, che è anche nostra madre. vi invito a invocare la sua intercessione per le vostre intenzioni personali, per l'intenzione della Chiesa e per la pace nel mondo.
Liebe Brüder und Schwestern deutscher Sprache, der Monat Mai ist der Gottesmutter Maria geweiht, die auch unsere Mutter ist. Ich lade euch ein, sie vertrauensvoll um ihre Fürsprache zu bitten, in euren persönlichen Anliegen, in den Anliegen der Kirche und für den Frieden in der Welt.
Dear German brothers and sisters, the month of May is dedicated to the Mother of God, who is also our Mother. I invite you to invoke her intercession for your personal intentions, for the intentions of the Church, and for peace in the world. Holy Father will now exchange greetings with the Spanish speakers, because Spanish is his mother tongue. He actually gives the summary himself in Spanish, and then we'll say a few words of greetings. We'll follow our custom here and not translate the summary, but we will offer, of course, a translation of his greeting to the Spanish-speaking faithful.
Especialmente a los niños y a los ancianos, a los enfermos y a cuantos sufren. Bendice también los rosarios y objetos de devoción que los peregrinos llevan consigo.
Santo Padre, os fiéis de língua portuguesa desejam testemunhar-lhe filial afeto e sincera fidelidade e rezam por todas as intenções do seu ministério apostólico universal. No final desta audiência, cantaremos a oração do Pai Nosso em latim. Depois, o Santo Padre concederá a bênção apostólica com um pensamento especial às crianças, aos idosos e aos doentes. Abençoará também os terços e demais objetos de devoção que cada um tiver consigo. Leio agora um resumo da catequese que o Santo Padre acaba de pronunciar. Um decreto do rei Antíoco Epífanes obrigava os judeus a comer carne imolada aos ídolos. Os executores do decreto, pela amizade que nutriam por Eleazar, sugeriam-lhe fingir que a comia, mas sem realmente o fazer. Deste modo, teria a vida salva. Afinal, insistiam eles, era um gesto mínimo, insignificante. Não é assim, retorquiu Eleazar. Um idoso que concordasse em considerar irrelevante a prática da fé levaria os jovens a acreditar que a fé não tem verdadeira relação com a vida, tratando-se apenas de um conjunto de atitudes e costumes que poderiam, em caso de necessidade, ser simulados ou disfarçados. Tal comportamento não honraria a fé, mesmo diante de Deus, e o efeito desta banalização seria devastador para os jovens. Uma pessoa idosa que tivesse vivido os seus dias na coerência da fé e agora aceitasse fingir, levaria a nova geração a pensar que tal fé era uma ficção, uma cobertura externa que poderia ser abandonada com a desculpa de manter a fé dentro de si mesma. Claro, sabemos que a prática da fé pode cair numa exterioridade sem alma, mas em si mesma não o é. A fé merece respeito e honra. Mudou a nossa vida, purificou a nossa mente, ensinou-nos a adoração a Deus e o amor ao próximo. É uma bênção para todos. Não podemos trocá-la por punhado de dias tranquilos. Com humilde firmeza, demonstraremos, precisamente na nossa velhice, que acreditar não é coisa de velhos. Para isso, podemos contar com a ajuda do Espírito Santo, que faz novas todas as coisas. Agora, o Santo Padre saúda em italiano os fiéis de língua portuguesa.
Carissimi fedeli di lingua portoghese, vi saluto tutti, in particolare gli alunni e professori del Collegio Orizzonte di Porto. Abbiamo iniziato da poco il mese di maggio, che tradizionalmente chiama il popolo cristiano a moltiplicare i gesti quotidiani di venerazione alla Vergine Maria. Il segreto della sua pace e del suo coraggio era questa certezza: nulla è impossibile a Dio. Abbiamo bisogno di imparare ciò con la Madre di Dio. Mostriamoci riconoscenti pregando il rosario ogni giorno. Dio vi benedica e la Madonna vi protegga. Grazie.
Dear Portuguese-speaking faithful, I greet you all, especially the pupils and teachers of the Colégio Roopwanti in Oporto. We have just begun the month of May, which traditionally calls the Christian faithful to multiply their daily gestures of veneration to the Virgin Mary. The secret of her peace and courage was this certainty: nothing is impossible for God. We need to learn this with the Mother of God. Let us show our gratitude by praying the Rosary every day. May God bless you, and may Our Lady protect you.
Precisamos aprender isto com a Mãe de Deus. Mostremo-nos agradecidos, rezando o terço todos os dias. Que Deus vos abençoe e Nossa Senhora vos proteja.
أيها الأب الأقدس، يسر المؤمنين الناطقين باللغة العربية الحاضرين هنا أن يعبروا لكم عن مشاعر الاحترام والتقدير وشكرهم البنوي، ويرفقون بصلواتهم الدائمة إلى الله من أجل قداستكم وخدمتكم كخليفة القديس بطرس. في نهاية هذه المقابلة سنرتل معا صلاة الأبانة باللغة اللاتينية، ثم سيمنح الأب الأقدس جميع الحاضرين البركة الرسولية، ويشمل بها جميع أحبائكم وخاصة الأطفال والمتزوجين حديثاً والمسنين والمرضى والمتألمين بآلام شديدة. وسيبارك كذلك المسابح والأشياء الطقوية التي يحملها معه كل واحد منكم. إليكم ملخص التعليم المسيحي لقداسة البابا فرانسيس. تكلم قداسة البابا اليوم على اليعازار، أحد شخصيات العهد القديم وكرامة الإيمان، وقال: شخصية اليعازار تشهد لنا على أن هناك علاقة بين الشيخوخة وكرامة الإيمان. كان الموقف ما يلي: أراد الملك اليوناني الوثني أن يجبر اليهود على أكل اللحوم المحرمة بحسب الشريعة، ولما كان بعض رجال الملك يكنون الاحترام والمودة لليعازار الشيخ، أرادوا أن يخلصوه من الموت، فعرضوا عليه أن يتظاهر بالأكل وهم يقدمون له لحوما غير محرمة. لكن اليعازار رفض نصيحتهم، رفض أن يهين الإيمان في شيخوخته وأن يتظاهر فيخدع الشباب الذين سيخطئون بسببه وبسبب ريائه. وقال قداسته: كبير السن الذي يوافق بسبب ضعفه على أن يعتبر أن لا أهمية لممارسة الإيمان، من شأنه أن يجعل الشباب يظنون أن الإيمان ليس له أي علاقة حقيقية بالحياة، وسيبدو الإيمان لهم كأنه مجموعة من السلوكيات التي يمكن التظاهر بها بما يخالف الحقيقة، تماماً كما كانت تقول البدعة الغنوصية القديمة التي رأت أن الإيمان روحانية وليس ممارسة، والأمانة للإيمان وكرامته لا علاقة لهما بسلوك الحياة. وقال قداسته: إن الإيمان إيمان بالقلب والعقل وبالأعمال أيضا، وعلى كبار السن أن يشهدوا لكرامة الإيمان، وأن يبينوا أن الإيمان ليس فقط لكبار السن، بل هم حافظوا عليه في كل مراحل حياتهم، وهو للشباب وللكبار على السواء. والآن تحية البابا باللغة الإيطالية لأبناء الشرق الناطقين اللغة العربية.
Saluto i fedeli di lingua araba. La fede ci ha cambiato la vita, ci ha purificato la mente, ci ha insegnato l'adorazione di Dio e l'amore al prossimo. È una benedizione per tutti e merita rispetto e onore. Il Signore vi benedica tutti e vi protegga sempre da ogni male.
To the Arabic-speaking faithful, I greet the Arabic-speaking faithful. Faith has changed our lives, purified our minds, taught us to worship God and to love our neighbor. It is a blessing for all and deserves respect and honor. May the Lord bless you all and protect you always from all evil.
بارككم الرب جميعا وحماكم دائما من كل شر.
Ojcze Święty, pielgrzymi z Polski i z innych krajów pragną przekazać Waszej świątobliwości wyrazy słownego oddania szczerej wierności, zapewniając o modlitwie we wszystkich intencjach Jego apostolskiej posługi. Na zakończenie audiencji zaśpiewamy modlitwę Ojcze Nasz po łacinie. Po jej zakończeniu Ojciec Święty udzieli nam apostolskiego błogosławieństwa, obejmując nim szczególnie dzieci, osoby w podeszłym wieku i dotknięte cierpieniem. Pobłogosławi także różańce i dewocjonalnie, jakie pielgrzymi przynoszą ze sobą. Oto streszczenie katechezy Ojca Świętego. W kolejnej katechezie o starości rozważamy dzisiaj starotestamentalną postać Eleazara. Za jego czasów Żydzi pod karą śmierci byli zmuszani do spożywania mięsa składanego w ofierze bożkom. Poradzono mu, aby dla ratowania życia udawał, że wypełnia to polecenie. Eleazar stanowczo odmówił, nie zgodził się na taką hipokryzję, aby młodym, że wiara nie ma prawdziwego związku z życiem, a jest jedynie zbiorem postaw, które w razie potrzeby można symulować lub ukryć. W chrześcijaństwie pokusa ta pojawiła się w pierwszych wiekach pod postacią gnozy. Pokusa ta jest wciąż aktualna. W wielu nurtach naszego społeczeństwa i kultury praktykowanie wiary jest przedstawiane w sposób negatywny, jako coś bezużytecznego czy wręcz szkodliwego. Młode pokolenia są pod silną presją tej krytyki. Dlatego tak ważne jest świadectwo ludzi starszych, którzy pokazują młodym, że praktykowanie wiary nie jest przejawem słabości, lecz siły. Wiara zasługuje na poważanie. Ona zmieniła nasze życie, oczyściła nasz umysł, nauczyła nas czci dla Boga i miłości bliźniego. Obecnie Ojciec Święty pozdrowi nas, Polaków, w języku włoskim.
Saluto cordialmente tutti i polacchi. Ieri avete celebrato la solennità della Beata Vergine Maria, Regina della Polonia. A Jasnagora avete ricordato il Beato Cardinale Wyszynski, che vi ha insegnato a confidare in Maria nei momenti più difficili della vostra storia. Seguendo il suo esempio, affidate alla Vergine Santa la sorte della vostra patria e la pace in Europa. Vi benedico di cuore.
Oto słowa Ojca Świętego. Pozdrawiam serdecznie wszystkich Polaków.
I cordially greet all Poles. Yesterday, you celebrated the solemnity of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Queen of Poland. At Jasna Gora, you remembered Blessed Cardinal Wyszynski, who taught you to trust in Mary at the most difficult moments of your history. Following his example, entrust to the Blessed Virgin the fate of your homeland and peace in Europe. And I bless you with all my heart. And finally, the Holy Father will exchange greetings with the Italian-speaking faithful.
Santo Padre, i fedeli di lingua italiana desiderano esprimerle filiale affetto e sincera fedeltà e pregano per tutte le intenzioni del suo universale ministero apostolico. A conclusione di questa udienza canteremo la preghiera del Padre Nostro in latino, terminata la quale il Santo Padre impartirà la benedizione apostolica, che estende in modo speciale ai bambini, agli anziani e ai sofferenti. Benedirà anche i rosari e gli oggetti di devozione che ciascuno porta con sé.
Rivolgo un cordiale benvenuto ai pellegrini di lingua italiana.
I extend a cordial welcome to the Italian-speaking pilgrims. In particular, I greet the Simba Association of Taranto and the Voci e Mani Bianchi Choir of Carpi. Finally, as usual, my thoughts go to the elderly, the sick, the young, and to newlyweds. At the beginning of this month dedicated to Mary, I invite everyone to venerate the Mother of Jesus with filial trust. Look to her as a teacher of prayer and spiritual life. And I will also greet he's saying that he will be receiving people to greet them at the end of the audience, but because of his knee, he is going to have to receive people from his chair. So he's just explaining how that will be done. And he concludes, my blessing to all.
Sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, se libera nos a malo.
We have just received the Holy Father's Apostolic blessing. Again, that blessing goes out in a special way to the young, the old, those who are sick, and to newlyweds, as well as to all those present, all of those listening in via the means of social communications, listening in live via the means of social communications, and to our friends, family, and loved ones. And that brings us just about to the end of the Holy Father's general audience for today at May 4th, 2022. On behalf of Vatican Radio, I'd like to thank our partner stations who help make these live broadcasts available throughout the world, especially Luminous Radio in India, Catholic TV, EWTN TV, Atmadarshana TV, Salt and Light TV out of Canada, Shalom World TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Radio Maria England, and Radio Maria Papua New Guinea. Thanks to our producers and technicians here in studio who make this broadcast possible. And thanks to all of you for joining us this morning. For full coverage of today's catechesis, along with other Vatican and world news, we invite you to visit the Vatican News web portal, as well as our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube accounts. My name is Christopher Wells. It has been a great pleasure providing the English language translation of today's general audience. And this concludes our live-streamed broadcast of Pope Francis' general audience of Wednesday, May 4th, 2022. Praise be Jesus Christ. Laudetur Jesus Christus.